Welcome. Happy Friday, everybody. And we will go with the agenda. Tom.
Thanks, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for coming in for a special time here to do a quick agenda review for Wednesday, June 14th, which looks to be a pretty simple agenda. Steph, are you going to talk about?
Yes. So in county announcements, we're going to talk about the fire department using the Haas alert system. If you haven't heard about it, it's a pretty cool service that whenever the fire trucks activate their lights and sirens, the Haas alert system automatically sends out digital alerts through GPS to cars in the area to let them know that there's a fire crew in the area and they need to slow down, use caution, move over. We're going to show a video and talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk about the Wichita Business Journal is giving out an award to women who lead in a major company. I think that's how it's phrased. And it's going to someone in our IT department. And that's it for county announcements.
All right.
Any
The business journal today.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen my copy yet.
Supposed to have an article in it about the Northwest Expressway.
Was
As we get into the agenda, item C is a retirement, and that I think it's Mark Borst, right? Coming in, so we will recognize him. Then we have a series of appointments. And we get down to the new business. Item J is the appointment of a county counselor, and there's a corresponding consent agenda item on that as well. Item K and L, let Lindsay kind of give you a high level of that real quickly.
So Commissioners, we have two issues to talk about related to bonding. So if you remember our process when we talked about it at your retreat, the commission approves a CIP amendment. If it's going to be used with bonds, we go through a process to get bids and everything. And then as soon as it looks like we're about to start spending money on a project that we want to later reimburse ourselves for on bond proceeds, we have to take a process step to approve a resolution that's basically called a project authorization. And so what that resolution does is it says at some point down the road, it is our intention to reimburse ourselves for this. And that is what preserves our right to do non-tax bonds. So that means the people down at the end who are actually participating in the bond issuance don't have to pay taxes on the interest that we pay them. And that's how we're able to keep our low interest rates along with our credit rating. So we have two items that are project authorizations. One is for the admin building. So if you recall, you all authorized looking at 4 options, right, as part of an admin building. One would be the purchase of an existing building, Murphin. One would be the construction of a new building at 3rd and Main. One would be the construction of a building near the Garvey Center. And then one would be actually a long-term lease here in this facility. Well, the only one of those projects that really has some true dollars associated to it early in the process is the due diligence associated with the Murphin building. So this is a project authorization that's basically only authorizing the due diligence costs at this time. Once you all make a decision on what you want to do next, if the next step is a purchase agreement or something like that, we will come back with a separate agenda item. But this just allows us within 60 days of the authorization to start spending money to preserve our ability to bond fund. So it's not committing you to a project. I've already had questions because Murphin is the only building that specifically has due diligence. This is not a commitment long-term. It's not a decision that you're making. It's a process step to preserve our right to do bond funding. So that is what you will see for the item K. Item L, you'll see is amending a resolution. So at the beginning of 2022, you all authorized a resolution that approved all of the bond funded projects in that year's CIP, including ComCare crisis. So what we have sitting out there in this resolution is that exact same information. But only one project has changed, and that is the cooling tower at the main courthouse. It's a need, we have to do it. But if you remember when I talked about ARPA earlier this week, I mentioned a project had tripled in cost. This is the one. It has gone from just shy of 800,000 to just north of, I think, 2.3 million. almost up to 2.4 because a crane is involved. We got one bid back for this. I'll be honest, it's a frustrating situation for everyone involved, but it's a true need. We have asked if there's an opportunity to delay or go back out. There's really not. And so that's why we're coming to you to ask to amend this resolution to put in that new price estimate to, again, preserve our right to ultimately bond fund this project. So that's what this is. That bid will still have to come to you, but this is where we stand today.
Why can't we delay it? It's been left along for years.
I think that's the problem. When I asked Andrew, he said he could look up and see the, I'm not going to probably, Tanya, are you here?
I'm here.
Corrosion, I think is what he said he can look up and see through the.
Andrew, I'm here.
In the main courthouse.
Andrew is on.
Oh, hi, Andrew. Okay.
Can you hear
rescue
me?
Yep.
Okay, so there are I-beams that support the cooling tower on top of the main courthouse, and I can see through the I-beams. The rust is so severe that it's actually rusted all the way through some of the metal. So my preference is to not delay this project because of the structural aspect of what's been compromised by the rust.
Can't we bid it?
Andrew, do you want to speak to the details on that bid process a little bit?
So my understanding is that we put the project out to bid and we only had one bid respond or one bidder respond. We did have a construction estimate for the work that was compiled, and that is the bid that came in. It actually came in under what the engineer's estimate was for. The project budget was set based on a contractor who supplied us with a bid, and that contractor, understanding he supplied us with a bid, it was at the end of 2019.
A preliminary bid.
And he set the original project budget based off, we set the original project budget based off of that contractor's bid or his estimate. And that contractor did not submit a bid when we actually published it. And he's telling us that he's shorthanded and he doesn't have the manpower to be able to do such a project.
I didn't see any other option, honestly. If it's a potential structural issue, which to me equals safety issue.
And these, no, go ahead.
If we put the project back out to bid and nothing's really changed, I don't know on what grounds we could do that. And I don't think the only bidder that we've received so far, I don't think that would be well received.
That's what we know we see with this thing.
No, it wasn't. It is not well received.
So these two resolutions are amending and preliminary actions as opposed to issuing temporary bonds,
Right.
temporary notes, and then see how it washes out and then go permanent. So this is you could go either way, but this is what the county traditionally does. And it seems to be a nice approach from my perspective.
Well, and what we would propose to do for an admin building, which this is a new project authorization for the admin building, no other project authorization exists. What we would do is we would wait for you all to come up with what your determination is. As long as it's one of the three that actually involves owning a building as opposed to leasing, we still would have to go through a process of design, and there are going to be many, many more steps. So we will have more resolutions that come to you, and we likely would want to advance fund some part of that if we do one of the more expensive options where we don't feel like we have the cash available to fund that as we go. So there is going to be a lot more discussion as we go, but right, this is not issuing any bonds. It's just preserving, excuse me, preserving our ability to do so in the most advantageous way to us.
Okay, any other questions? Nope. Okay, let's move on. M.
Okay, item M is the authorization and creation of a benefit district in the Drader Estates in District 3. I don't know, Commissioner Dennis, if you're up to speed, or Lynn, if you had any input on that, or if there's any questions. Then N is Board of Bids and Contracts, and we get to the consent list. Item O is actually item O and P are CIP amendments creating projects for studies. Item O is a study for the K-15 corridor. The partners are us, Wichita, Derby, and Wampo. Our share of that is $50,000, which will be paid for out of a public works fund. Item P has a fiscal note of $44,000, which we paid out of 2 line items in the public works budget. That's for a study, a K-254 corridor study. The partners there are Sedgwick County and Butler. Item Q is an intergovernmental agreement between Wichita and the county for the stretch of 21st Street west of 119th to going to Forest View. The county owns a half a mile in there and the city owns a half mile. As far as I'm understanding, Wichita's paying for that whole project and we have no fiscal note on that. Item R, there was no backup material yesterday. I assume that's in today. That was a renewal grant. I think Adrian sent you all an email on that for Healthy Babies Program of a little less than $1 million. And actually some of that was a grant from our share of that was there was a share there with some of that to Children's Service League. Yeah. Item S is a professional services agreement with Scott for his work in drug court. And that funding is coming from corrections up to how much, what's the cap on that?
Yeah, I think it escalates. It's a 3-year contract. It escalates slightly each year, but I think the beginning price is $65,000 paid out monthly for the first year. And it goes up maybe 67, 68 or 9 after that.
Item T is the salary exception request for the county councilor that you'll appoint under new business. And item U is a staffing table change in corrections to accommodate the veteran treatment. There was a classification error made on the front end that they'll fix, and they're also adding a new specialty court administrator graded at 135 to be on the correction staffing table. And that is it and the rest of it is routine business. Pretty much it for the agenda for today.
Commissioners, anything? If not, Tom, can you briefly address, there's been a little bit of a brush up about 911.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking.
Could you just,
Yeah, we
update?
We had visits, we had staff visits last night. We had a thread going until almost 11 o'clock. And then we had staff meeting this morning. I might ask Rusty to kind of just give a landscape of what our plan of action going forward on this is.
Okay. Based on a news report last night that came from the fire union, which kind of follows up to some social media activity.
Right.
There's just misinformation that's being put out there, some mischaracterizations. And so the hope would be that we simply set the record straight, have an opportunity to, number one, we want to meet with the 911 advisory board, if that's possible. There was actually a meeting yesterday, a regularly scheduled meeting. We would hope to meet with them first of next week, kind of talk through, since they are the ones, they are the users, they are the department heads with whom the 911 director is working on CAD and that project, have a conversation with them and then report to media, set the record straight, get the facts out there, dispel some of the misinformation, demonstrate that while some of the misinformation indicates that certain departments have been excluded, that they didn't get to participate in configuration. We want to dispel some of that there's active dialogue between the emergency corrections director and fire department heads, law enforcement, and that work is being done on things that they would like to see improved or modified. Some things have nothing to do with CAD. Coming into a new CAD system, they've identified some processes that they would like to change. And so our director of communications is working with them on those issues. There's a formal process that doesn't include the head of a union, because they're working directly with the department heads who make decisions for those departments on behalf of their governing bodies. So we'd like to get that information out there, and we'll work on that first of next week by going through the advisory board and moving from there.
Sheriff Easter is the chairman of the advisory board. He is not available today, or we just tried to do this today. So it'll be Monday or Tuesday next week.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just along that line, as you're gathering data, I think it'd be really great to have a list of investments and improvements we've made to the 911 system over the last, I don't know how many years you want to go back, but at least a few years, and say we've made these changes and investments and improvements. I can think of so many. And then I think second to that would be changes in staffing table and changes in salary structure. I think if we had those pieces of information at our fingertips, I could probably do a little bit of discussion more thoughtfully than I can right now. I'm missing some data to be able to speak. Thank you.
I pulled some of that information together a year ago, 18 months ago, that you're talking about. So that's easy to.
Yeah, can you dust that off?
I'll pull that back out and
Okay,
update it.
appreciate that. Okay. Any other comments on that? Thanks for the update.
Thank you, sir.
And how about anything else before us?
Rusty, you know, whenever I have a letter, I did talk to the new wing commander today. Sarah and I both did. Commissioner Lopez and I both did. And I was to talk to Lee Bellinger out there. And so they're ready for the letter.
Okay.
Good.
I just need to get it going.
Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully this coming week, we can get that proposal and the letter put together.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Lopez, for getting that. Okay. Anything else? Nope. Okay. Happy Friday, everybody. Have a safe weekend.